security is so vast, okay? And like there's like different areas of security. Like there's the incident response, there's compliance, there's this and that. But I do recommend for those who are web developers or software engineers that want to transition to security, you have a really, really good chance of getting into application security. And that's why I was honing in on the OWASP top 10 and like web vulnerabilities and stuff like that, because it already builds on what you already know. You already have like that solid foundation of web development. Now you have to learn about like different ways that like an attacker can try to exploit your application. And so your job would be to help secure that application from those attacks and everything. So
Welcome back to the Free Code Camp podcast, your source for raw, unedited interviews with developers. Today, we're talking with Tae'lur Alexis. She's a developer and cybersecurity analyst. Instead of going to college, Tae'lur spent years working at various fast food and retail jobs. She taught herself Python and JavaScript using FreeCodeCamp, then worked as a software engineer for 5 years before specializing in security engineering. Now, instead of building applications, she breaks them. Support for this podcast comes from a grant from Wix Studio. Wix Studio provides developers tools to rapidly build websites with everything out of the box, then extend, replace, and break boundaries with code. Learn more at wixstudio.com. Support also comes from the 11,384 kind folks who support Free Code Camp through a monthly donation. You can join these chill human beings and help our charity's mission by going to donate.freecodecamp.org. For this week's musical intro, with yours truly on the drums, guitar, bass, and keys, we're going back to 1990 with the theme from the Nintendo game Astyanax. Hey, Tae'lur, welcome to the Free Code Camp podcast.
hi.
Yeah, it's awesome to talk with you. I've known of you for many, many years, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you. First, I want to ask, what exactly does a security engineer do?
So that greatly depends on the domain that they're in. Like there's incident response, there's application security. What I do is it's kind of like a mix of different things because I work directly under a CISO at a consulting firm. So we offer a variety of security services to tech startups, like in specific. So if they need vulnerability assessments, we provide that. We're actually starting to do like penetration testing as well, or ethical hacking for those who are unaware of what that is. So being able to legally like break into or find flaws in systems such as like networks and web applications, mobile apps, and everything like that to help make those applications and systems and networks more secure. We also do compliance. That's actually a lot of my work too now. So we help build security programs from scratch because a lot of these startups, they often like ship the products first and think about the security like afterwards. So
Right.
um, so, they'll need certain things in place in order to become compliant with different standards such as ISO 27001, SOC 2. I don't want to bore anyone with like all the different
Yeah,
standards and stuff.
alphabet soup.
Yeah, but that's actually often a really important thing if they're trying to secure funding or different customers. Like is if they are compliant with certain standards and stuff like that, because they're trying to see, because other potential customers are trying to see, can you, do you have certain controls in place that will protect like our data and everything like that? Can we trust you with our stuff, basically? So we help prepare different tech startups for those like audits and getting those certifications and stuff like that. So like my typical day, it's a little interesting. So as you know, like I'm uh as a security analyst and everything, I'm actually working with like different startups. So one client could be, need like a risk assessment done, or another client could be asking a question about how, like recently, yesterday, they actually asked me for advice on implementing a DAS tool, which for those who don't know, that's the automated scanner that can help find like vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So from an external standpoint. So like they needed help with like, what kind of tools, best fit our needs and everything like that, because a potential customer needed that, needed them to have that implemented in order for them to work with them. So yeah, it really depends. It kind of varies like the type of work I do.
Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is kind of just helping people fix their fast, move fast, break things kind of like mentality in startups. Like everything is done as inexpensively as possible, just trying to get the product out the door, see whether people like it, see whether people will pay money for it. And a lot of times, security is just one of those many things that ends up as technical debt that people will eventually get
Yes.
to.
Yes, a lot of my work is actually educating, raising awareness on why security matters, why you need to have certain tools in place, why, secure coding is important, to help like, defend against vulnerabilities and everything like that. So for sure, that it's a lot of trying to like make people feel like make security an important step in the process. Hopefully from the beginning of the software development lifecycle, but at any stage that we can kind of get in. So
Yeah, and you worked as a software engineer for like 5 years before you got into security. And along the way, did you take for granted a lot of the things that you now know are very important about security?
yeah, actually, and I did not know a lot about secure coding when I was a front end developer. Actually, I didn't know much about. I did know of cross-site scripting, but I didn't have like the knowledge that I have now. I didn't know about the OWASP top 10 and everything. And I've noticed that, and I thought that made me less of an engineer until I got into security, and then I've met other very, very smart software engineers that don't know like that much security, and also like as you know, like a lot of software development courses and coding courses, like they don't actually teach about like secure coding or anything like that. That's taught as a separate discipline. So that was like an extra step that I had to kind of like go through, trying to like fill in those gaps and everything for sure. And also another thing is like I didn't know a lot of Linux, I didn't know a lot of networking, and so when I was transitioning to security, I had to kind of build up my knowledge in that stuff. But having that software development like background really helped me with getting the jobs that I do have, because I know about Git, I know about the SDLC and everything like that. I know about the different tech stacks. I know about like React and Vue and everything. I know how
Yeah.
databases work and stuff. So
Yeah, and
that helped.
SDLC is software development lifecycle, I believe.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so basically like from cradle to the grave, what happens with an app, and all
Yeah.
the
From the
many
design.
life events.
Yep.
Yeah,
From design to deployment.
yeah, awesome. So I'm very excited to learn more about security, but first I want to learn more about you. Many people probably already know who you are. You had this like photo of you like mopping the bathroom or something at like a Boston Market, and
Yeah.
then it was like that was the first one, and the second one was like you working as a software engineer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to learn a little bit more about your kind of developer origin story and how you were able to teach yourself all these skills just using free learning resources and also just leveraging the community around you. One of the things that you mentioned that you've used in the past is FreeCodeCamp, of course.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm excited to learn more about that period of your life. My understanding is you were in Jacksonville, Florida at the time. Is that correct?
I was I spent time like it was kind of half and half. Like when I was really like learning how to code, it was actually in Orlando, Florida, so in Central Florida.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, take us back to that experience, like what you were doing, because you know a lot of people when they finish high school, they go to college if they
yeah.
have been like sufficiently academically inclined, or if they have the money to go to college. If they live in a state that has an inexpensive community college, often they'll go there. What was your entire approach? Like, take us back to high school.
Okay. Yeah. So high school, I was not the best student. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I'm pretty sure if my math and science teachers saw me in STEM today, they would be like, "Wow, she actually made it." Like, um, I was really, really shy. I don't really think I gave myself a chance, honestly, in class. I'm not even gonna try to blame the system or anything like that. I think I was just like really like shy and like very introverted, and I just didn't want to be around people. So I would just be like off like in my own world. And so I wasn't the best in math or anything like that. And so when I graduated high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer actually. Like I wanted to go to like Harvard Law School and everything like that. But like things didn't like work out and I didn't have any like money like and I didn't have um like the academic, aptitude and everything to get into like a really good school and stuff like that. So I got into, I did what a lot of 18-year-olds do. I got into fast food, worked at like McDonald's and Macy's, and I just worked like a bunch of jobs like in like retail and fast food. I did not know of what coding or computer science was or anything like that. I'm not like I'm kind of it's really cool when you like meet like other people like in the industry who like started off like taking apart computers and everything and like getting like hacking the systems and being like hacker forms when they were like 10 years old. And I'm just like, dang, like when I was 10 years old I was, I don't know, on Wikipedia, like, or watching like VH1 or something. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't, yeah, I didn't know about any of that. I wish, but yeah, it's just different path, right? So, I did come across coding when I saw like a YouTube video, I think for like Code Academy or something like that, just like a coding like ad, and I was like curious about it. I was like, well, what is it? And so, I did not know that like everything that we do like on our computers and everything like we're interacting like with applications that are built with code, and I had no idea. I would be on the computer every day like playing games, flash games, everything like that, but I never actually like thought about how do these things like work and everything. So um yeah, that's what I was doing, and I came across coding specifically in 2017.
Okay, you're interested in coding, but like, how do you go about teaching yourself to code? That's like a major endeavor. It's one thing to
Yeah.
know what coding is and appreciate that, like, most of the things that are exciting in the world right now that are happening in software are happening because a developer willed them into existence, right? Or a team of developers willed them into existence. But it's another thing to actually put yourself in a position where you can develop. How did you do that?
Honestly, diversifying like my resources and everything. At that point in 2017, like the main resources that were out was Free Code Camp and like Code Academy. Like those like the two sites that like really like stood out. And then of course like Udemy. Um, so it was hard, honestly. Like when I first tried learning how to code is February 2017, and I tried to print like Hello World in Python, and then I stopped immediately. And I didn't actually resume learning how to code for like some months because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't understand like the basic building blocks and what was the purpose of a function and comments. I didn't understand, and I guess I just didn't think I would be technical enough, or that I would have like the raw intelligence to be able to like take on this endeavor of like learning how to code. Honestly, for being honest. Um, but my father actually motivated me to like keep going. But at that time, so I was like 21. I had reconnected with my father and everything after, because when my parents like divorced and I was like a kid, like I went with my mom. So, and I didn't get to talk to my dad really because like they were separate, living their own lives. And so I reconnected with him, and like he saw that I was like on like free code camp, and he was just like, you should keep going with that. You seem like it seems like it made me like happy or something. And I was just like, really? And then he died actually like a few months after that. So that's what kind of kept me like motivated to like keep learning how to code. And yeah, like I try to tell people because I get a lot of people that reach out to me and they're saying like, that they don't feel smart enough to like learn how to code and become a software developer because like a certain concept is hard. And it's like, I'm like, that is such a cyclical, like that's a cyclical feeling. Like you're gonna have like that feeling like throughout your whole career, like whenever there's like a new topic or concept that comes about. And there's things that like took me a long time to understand when it came to coding as well. So it's just having to like go back to like sometimes it's the resource. So like if you're trying to learn from like one course and they're teaching a topic that you don't understand or that doesn't resonate with you, then diversify and try like another instructor, or try videos maybe because maybe you're a visual learner as opposed to someone who as opposed to like, learning from like books or written tutorials and stuff like that. So find like your learning style is important and being open to diversifying your resources. Those are the two things I would say that help me keep going.
Awesome, man. I'm glad your dad got to see you pursuing this passion before he passed. Yeah. Um, yeah. Maybe you can put us into that moment, like not that moment that your dad passed, but like kind of that area of your life. So you're kind of cycling in and out. And I experience this too. I
Yeah.
always say like lots of people give up on learning to program. I gave up several
Hmm.
times, right? And uh, so you're kind of like cycling in and out of feeling like you can do this. How did you have the temerity and the willpower to keep thrusting yourself back into it?
I had to build my community, and I didn't know I was building a community, honestly. Because I had joined like the 100 Days of Code challenge, and I think that public accountability kind of helped me keep going because I started to post about what I was like learning, the struggles I was having with like learning programming and what I was building, and just meeting like other people that were also like learning too. Like that is so key. And I didn't have anyone around me, like out, in the real world that was also doing this. Like no one else in my family was in programming. Actually, correction, I just found out rather recently that I have an aunt that I knew that I did not know about that actually has like a computer science degree from like way back then, like 70s, 80s. And I was like, what? But like I at the time I didn't have anyone. I didn't have like a support system. So yeah, like finding that like online and just keeping in mind like what my dad, told me and everything like that helped me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So
So you were able to leverage kind of this support system that you went out and built for yourself, kind of like a spider like weaves a web to stand on, right?
yeah.
Or a beaver builds a dam so they can control like a part of their ecosystem. You kind of created this mind space and like these people around you, and that
Yeah.
was what you needed in order to be able to sit down and grind through all the learning resources.
Yeah, like there were people that have been in tech for 10, 20 years that were like being like super encouraging to a lot of us in the community, like in the 100 Days of Code or Code Newbie community on Twitter.
Right.
And so like that was very helpful, honestly. It's very encouraging for sure. And honestly, like I had to motivate myself too, because I was like I knew that I did not want to be in fast food for long. I was like I'm about to quit this job at Boston Market. Like I'm not about to keep doing this job. So, and I wanted to see what would happen with software development. And honestly, at the time, you know how like now software development is like being pushed so heavy as far as like, oh, make six figures and everything like that, like get rich quick kind of thing. At the time, I swear, like in 2017, I wasn't even drawn to it because of that. Like I was seeing people like on YouTube, like Coding Phase, whoever, like I just liked the knowledge that they like gave to like other people and like and everything. And I wanted to create value too for others too. So yeah.
Yeah, and there are a few things that you can do that just can unlock that much value for other people, just like that you can do yourself, right? Like you can go and build houses for people, but it takes a lot of people to build a house for somebody, right? And it also takes a whole lot of lumber and a lot of other resources. Like you, if you have the developer skills, you can sit down with like a laptop, or you like even go to like a library and use the computer there, and you can build something that people can use.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the power and the leverage that software specifically gives people that other mediums of creation do not necessarily, is being able to help a lot of people at scale without using a lot of material.
I agree. Yeah, taking from idea and actually realizing that idea and everything, making it a reality. Like that is a power for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's what drew me to front end development, especially because like I was able to get like the immediate like results of like what I was like, coding and stuff. So
So were you working these retail jobs while you were teaching yourself coding? Like did you
yeah.
have to do the two in tandem?
Yeah, like at one point I was working at both like Walmart and Boston Market and I would work like especially at Boston Market, I'd be working like 8 to 10 hour shifts, sometimes without a break. And then I didn't have a car, so then I would run home, and then I would get on the computer. And for some reason, like I was just like I was really on the computer for 6 to 7 hours, like barely sleeping. Like I was just really fascinated, like especially when I was like running into like problems with my code or like not understanding something. Like for me, what drives me is like I have like this need to have to like understand something. So like I think that's what also is a really important trait for someone to have when they're trying to get into tech. If an obstacle doesn't like put you off from the whole mission, then you have a chance of getting into tech, honestly. Because that's a lot of what a lot of our journeys are is full of obstacles and be able to overcome them and being like resilient. So yeah, I was working like my butt off for sure.
Yeah, I often say like learning programming is more of a motivational challenge than it's like a specifically like technical challenge, or
Yeah.
than it has anything to do with like aptitude or even like interest in computers early on? Because it doesn't sound like you really got that. I mean, it sounds like you were like a curious kid who didn't necessarily, perform well in school, but was also, you were interested in stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just that you were waiting for the right thing to come along, and then you really just took to that and ran
Yeah.
with it.
Waiting for my passion, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that period between when you knew, oh, I'm really interested in this, and then when you got your first job.
Yeah, so I want to say I was studying for about 7 to 8 months before I got an email. I received an email from a CEO of a small like consulting firm based in Seattle, Washington. And I remember the email because I was like, what is going on? Basically like what happened was he reached out to me. He said he had actually been following my journey on Twitter for like a little while, and they were hiring junior software engineers, and he was wondering if I would be interested in interviewing for the role. And I was like, yeah. And the role would require like relocation to Seattle, and I had never been to Seattle like ever in my life. At that point, I had only like lived in like I think what California, Nevada, Florida, and Georgia. Like I hadn't been
That's
to
more
like
places
Seattle.
than most Americans have lived, yeah.
Yeah.
but but,
Oh.
but I mean, you lived on both coasts. So that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
So talk us through like what that process was like. Like, what? How did you react to getting that email? Did that feel real? I mean, you've been studying for like 7 months at this point.
yeah. Yeah, and I have built some projects. I built like a really, I remember the apps too. I remember them, and I was hosting them on GitHub,
Yeah.
or
What were
like
some
and
of your early
Heroku.
apps?
Yeah, so like for me, like how I developed ideas for like landing pages since I wanted to be a front-end developer, I thought of like startup ideas. So like I thought of like a beer and chocolate delivery service. So I created like a landing page for that. Let's see. I developed like a landing page for like a fake like beauty like e-commerce app because I was like, oh, I'd love to build like a beauty e-commerce app to like sell like Korean skincare and like cosmetics and stuff like that. Um, Based on like skin type. Like I was really going into like detail. I was like thinking of okay, if I was gonna start like a startup, this is what I would like, want to like advertise and try like market and da da da. And so I did that. I also built like a real estate listings app, kind of like a Zillow clone. That was like the one I was like the most proud of because of the UI, honestly. There's like a lot of like gradient effects and everything. I'm sure it's like so dated now. Like it's but at the time I was proud. So yeah, those are the projects that I had on my resume and on my GitHub and everything. And so the interview process like basically consisted of the first call being with the CEO, like virtually talking about like why I want to be in tech and what I'm passionate about and everything. And then it moved on to like the technical portion, which honestly is like the least technical interview I've had since then. Like I have to say, like in total, because I've had like full on like whiteboarding interviews, and this one was actually one of the more like laid back ones. That was like it's a really good like junior role like kind of like interview for sure. Basically, they had like me talk with two of the engineers on the team and walk through the code, the solution for like one of my projects that I had, which in this case I believe it was the real estate listings app. So and they asked me questions like, how what is my process for developing like a new feature? How do I design it? How do I consider like accessibility and everything? Since they knew that I was also learning about like accessibility from the different resources that I was like using and everything. And so, oh, and also about like how to make like my app like responsive. Since at the time I did not build that website out responsive first. So, like, yeah, they were just trying to see like my mind, honestly, and like how I'm able to like communicate. And I think that's also something that I also try to tell people a lot is like these like interviews are really them trying to see like how do you communicate and how do you like work through a solution and can you work with a team member? Can they understand you and everything? Do you ask questions? They're just trying to see how you perform. And of course, how do you perform under pressure as well, especially those whiteboarding ones. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so that's what the interview process was like. And it was really simple. It was just like two steps. So.
Yeah. And then so you go out to Seattle and you start working as a software engineer.
Yeah, it was like my first time like on a first class flight. I felt like so cool. Um, yeah, I had like three cranberry vodkas. I was just like really, really happy. Um, on the plane. But yeah, so yeah, like it was my first time in Seattle and everything, and it was also my first time having my own place as well because they provided relocation. And so he was like, "Hey," before I came out there, he was like, "Can you find a place?" In Seattle, mind you, I'd never been there, like I said, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I found like a little micro studio. It was like super, super small, like less than I don't even know anymore. Actually,
Micro studio. So like,
yeah.
I mean, square footage. Like,
So like this place, for instance, is like it's 35 square meters. I want to say like my micro studio was even less than that. Like,
okay, so
yeah,
that's 2 square feet. That is like less than 400 feet.
yeah,
So less than 400 square feet, and of course now you're in Bangkok, Thailand.
yeah,
We're gonna talk about that. We're definitely gonna talk about that in a little bit. But
yeah,
I want to. So I just want to give people context. So you're moving all the way across the country, like Jacksonville, Florida, or Orlando,
hmm,
to freaking Seattle. Like
yeah.
you could not travel farther across the continental U.S. Uh, and you're moving into a, I mean, like the room I'm standing in here, this is probably like 150 square feet, maybe
Yeah.
200. So this is like not much bigger than the room that
Oh,
I'm in.
yeah. It's literally about that. It's about that size. I'm not even lying to you. Like that studio was about, I want to say like around 150. There, yeah, there wasn't even like there was not a full kitchen at all. There wasn't even a full closet. Like there was a rack, and that represented the closet. Like a single bed, yeah. But it was in such a nice part of Seattle. It was in Ballard. I don't know if you've ever been to Ballard. Um, it's like a suburb, like maybe like 10 minutes outside of like like downtown Seattle, and it's really nice. And it was 5 minutes walking my office, like from our office and everything. So that's why I picked it as well. So it was like right there in the main street. So there's a bunch of like bars and restaurants. So it was really nice, like area, very safe, honestly, but also close to my workplace. So.
Yeah. So what was it like? Like the first few months working there, doing front end development, being in a completely new city, not working in fast food.
Yeah. So when I started that job, it was July 2018. And it was definitely a struggle at first, for sure. Having to like adjust to like a whole new city and everything. But also at the same time, I grew up, as you've heard, like I've lived in different states and everything. So I was open to like living in like different places. It wasn't like foreign to me. But just being away from like not being close to my family, that was my first time. Being away from my mother, for sure. My siblings, like no one was in that same state or like nearby. And of course, my father had passed, so I really felt extra lonely, honestly. Um, but yeah, so I was definitely like a recluse at first. And it's just like trying to like get like my bearings at work and trying to like just like become like accustomed to like this like new workload and everything because I went from having a workload of working at fast food, like working the drive-through and cleaning bathroom floors to like, oh, can you like help us like develop this like new features, like a whole different like mind shift for sure. And having to like learn about like sprints and everything and stand up like meetings that we would have, like just getting like used to that. um that whole new culture, working under like a project manager who has like roadmaps and deadlines and stuff like that. It was very different from like having to like build, like follow like a tutorial like online from like a course and everything. They don't teach you all that.
Yeah.
So
So they don't necessarily. They're just teaching you the specific technical topics that you're going to be,
hmm,
that knowledge that you're going to be using on the job. They don't teach you the kind of the meta aspects of working on a software development team.
yes,
And
yeah.
yeah, and you see, you mentioned like, yeah, you had like a product manager or project manager that you worked under, and they delegated different features and bugs and things
Hmm.
to you. And then did you do like sprints? I mean, did you have like stand up meetings? Did you have all that stuff?
Yeah, daily stand-ups and everything like that for sure. And having to like talk about like any like any blocks that we were having, like, and or questions that we have about like certain like features or like whatever tasks that we have to do and everything like that for sure. And I also learned about other functions in tech or in IT, like such as like what DevOps was. I didn't know what a DevOps like engineer was and like what role like they play, system administrator, all that kind of stuff. So that was like all very new. And actually, in that first job, we didn't have like a dedicated security team. I believe that must have been like outsourced or something. So I wasn't even exposed to security yet. So yeah, they taught me nothing about security. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like an exciting kind of like moment in your life, like new city, new field. Can you can you like remember how much you were sleeping during that period? Like eating, like did was it stressful? I mean, that seems like I'm sure it was stressful, but like the more color you can put on that like picture, that
Hmm.
portrait of you in this new office, like I just like to try to transport myself and try
Yeah.
to put myself in your shoes to the extent I can.
It's a very surreal feeling. Like it didn't really feel real, like even like my first few like weeks or like months into like the role and everything. And I'm glad that I did get proper, I wouldn't say I was given proper training, but I was giving a lot of support for sure on that job and everything. So yeah, it was just it's different. It's just like, you're just trying to like adapt to like a whole new like mindset, and you're trying to see like, okay, so like for me, like where does Taylor like fit into like this like team and everything. Also like there's like different personalities and everything. You know, working like on a tech team and everything. So yeah, it was just like being able to like deal with people of different backgrounds and personalities for sure. That was another thing.
Yeah, were there other people on the team that had not gone to university? Like we think of like the typical like developer as somebody who went to university when they turned 18 and got a computer science degree and then just got an internship and then just kind of like rode that like linear progression that I would probably say at least 50 or 60% of developers do that even today.
Yes.
Were there other people with less traditional backgrounds and journeys than?
I was I actually don't know. I didn't even inquire about a lot of their backgrounds or like what degree they had, and they didn't ask me either. But I want to say like the two senior like engineers, they were twins actually. Um I don't believe they had degrees. And yeah, I remember them telling me that. And they were also from Florida too. They're from Miami. And they were some of the smartest people that like I've met. Actually, a lot of the smartest people I've met, they don't have degrees. Like my current boss, actually, he doesn't have a college degree and he's a CISO, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, at that time, no. Like there was a lot of people were still, coming from a traditional background and everything for sure, having their computer science degree.
Yeah.
So
And CISO is Chief Information Security Officer. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay,
yep,
cool. Yeah, I try to like break down the acronyms for people
yeah,
listening
for
in. Like I'm
sure.
not even sure of that, but basically he's like it's the equivalent of the CTO for security, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he carries out all the executive decisions when it comes to security. He develops the security strategy for a company and he executes that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's do you have any like particularly trying memories from that moment when you were working at Seattle or in Seattle, like where you got really stuck or completely overwhelmed, or were there any moments where you were just like, I'm not sure if I'm cut out for this?
Yeah, honestly, I remember this. I had a project manager and she was like really hard on me. And I want to say she was like really just like hard on the team, and I guess like she's like under pressure herself. Because now, as I'm older, I try to think about I try to have like more compassion. I try to be like more mindful of things. So like I'm not even trying to like put her in like a bad way or anything like that. But I want to say she probably was just a perfectionist, and she probably was just like learning her job as well. Because she sent me like 10 tasks like at 11 p.m. on Slack, like to do, and she wanted that done like by 9 a.m. in the morning.
What?
Mind you. Yes, yes.
So just to be clear, like you have 10 hours and it's sleep
It's
has to go in there
already,
somewhere.
yeah. And I'm already like, I'm asleep. Because, like, when I wake up in the morning, she's like, what's the progress on the task that I've assigned to you? It literally shows that, like, she assigned those tasks to me at 10 p.m. And I was just like, I'm not, I haven't even looked at this. I just woke up and work doesn't even start until 9. Like, we're not, it wasn't expected of us to go into the office until 9 a.m. And so, like, that's usually when I would start my day. And I was like, yeah, like, when I, like clock in for work and everything, like I can begin those tasks. She just really gave me like a hard time about that. And like at the time, I hate it now because like the way I am now is like I don't show emotion. Like um I really don't like because you don't I don't know. But then at the time like I was just like, "Oh my God, like I didn't really know how to like process it." So like I was internalizing and I felt really really bad and I just felt like, "Oh my God, it's just like for me." at the time, and I was definitely questioning like if I should like even like stay in this job, but I was just like I'm already here. Um,
Yeah, I
but
mean
yeah,
that's
that
so
was definitely
extreme. It almost feels like a hazing ritual or something like all right, let's see if she's tough enough to hang.
yeah, yeah. And there were some other guys like on the team that said that they, that she's done like other stuff like that to them as well. And they're just like, I don't care. Like they were just like, it's unreasonable. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like our CEO, like he's a very understanding person, very and so he wasn't like on us at all about that. So it was just she was just I don't know. I know for a fact I wanted to tell my boss so bad, like, can you please not have her be my project manager? Like, because we had another one that was much better. But I didn't even say that. I didn't even like raise the issue. I just um I really leaned on the support of like my teammates for real, like on, just being good to, coworkers and everything like that and helping guide me and stuff. So, and
So it sounds
navigating the
like
workplace.
similar to like how when you were learning to code and undergoing, extreme difficulty because learning
Hmm.
programming is hard.
Hmm.
um, you similarly you kind of like went out and you kind of crafted an environment for yourself, supportive people, and
Yeah.
it sounds like you did the same thing with your colleagues at the
Yeah.
company, and so you had kind of like this support network, and you all were able to like vent and discuss like, oh, it's kind of messed up that so and so expects this of me,
Yeah.
and seems like that was a big part of how you kind of coped and stayed
I
strong
wouldn't
during
say
that period.
venting, because I never vented to my coworkers, but I more so was just like asking for like guidance on how to like navigate certain things,
Okay.
on how to develop my communication skills more. Because I think that was also like something too, like being able to like stand firm like in your communication, like okay, like I cannot like, and working with the project manager to set better deadlines for things. Those were the things that like I learned a lot from the more senior engineers that kind of like took me under their wings when I say that they when I had like that support system. They
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
You kind of learned
that's how
how
they
to
helped me.
manage the manager.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and how to be a better, and how to just be like a more communicative developer, because it's like you said, it's not even just about the technical skills. It's everything. It's being able to set realistic expectations when it comes to deadlines and projects and everything that you're given. Is being able to be vocal and to communicate things without being overly emotional. And also setting aside like your feelings like in the workplace. That's why I say I don't even like um display emotion like at work like that, like of course like you are friendly, you're kind and everything like that, but if you're like under stress or like under pressure, like I just try to have like a try to just center like my thoughts and my emotions and everything like that,
Yeah.
and just not, so
Yeah, just to
life
get
taught me
that
that.
ice in your veins where you're just
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
knuckle up. I'm just gonna do this. I'm not gonna let them see me bleed. Right? The James Bond,
Yeah.
never let them see you bleed.
Yeah.
Um, and so it sounds like that's a big part of how you navigate it is just be really stoic about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the biggest lessons, the biggest takeaways from that first job?
Oh wow. um get like it's so funny that like that's the first thing, like I swear, like I remember like the senior engineer, he taught me like how to like create my first branch and push commits and everything like that, and like the importance of writing like meaningful commit messages, and like that's really taken me very far. um Having like knowledge of Git, so yeah. And also not being afraid to ask questions. That was another big takeaway, because there were a lot of things I didn't know. Like I didn't know what Vagrant was, and that was what we used a lot for our environment. Um,
Yeah,
to
Vagrant.
like,
It's a DevOps tool for like just having like a pre-configured environment for
yeah, yeah,
testing
being
and
able, yeah,
deployment.
and be, yeah, because now people have like kind of like migrated on over to like other like virtual machines and everything like that. But yeah, Vagrant is used to configure like virtual machines and everything, but like now they've migrated on over to like other tools. But yeah, I haven't used Vagrant in years, but
But you got your first exposure to that type of tool
yes.
at the job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what made learning like other tools like such as like Ansible or like Terraform like not that foreign of a concept, or like learning like infrastructure as code, because you are coding like your infrastructure like in Vagrant. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And so when did you decide to leave that job and move on?
Oh my gosh, I got laid off.
You got laid off?
Yeah, they laid off all the juniors. They
That
laid off the
sucks.
interns. Yeah, it was actually, I've looked up that company. They've changed the name. But all the developers that had worked with, they're no longer there. Um, so like I don't know, and I guess like they've completely like restructured the company. But yeah, they had they told me that, they were just like running out of like money really, like of clientele and stuff. So they just had to like, just make the decisions to like keep like the more senior developers and everything. And yeah, that crushed me. That I was because I was stuck. I
Yeah,
was
you're in
stuck.
Seattle.
Yes, I
Like
had a
you've
lease.
uprooted your entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. That happened around the holidays. It happened around Christmas.
What did you
Yeah.
do?
Oh my gosh, I was like depressed, but I had money though because since I lived in a because I had thought about it when I initially was looking for a place, right, before I started my position. I was like, okay, like I knew how much I was gonna make post taxes because I use like this website called Smart Asset, and it kind of gives you like a good estimate of like how much your paychecks would be after taxes depending on the state, sometimes the city, all that kind of stuff. And so like okay, I had like an idea of like, how much I'd make it. So like I found an apartment that was way less than that. So like my apartment was like 900 at the time, which was probably considered a lot for such a small apartment. But yeah. Um and so I had like savings and everything like that. So I was like living off my savings, honestly. And I started freelancing actually, because like my best friend, he had a contracting like company and everything like that. So we're just like, hey, let's like build out some like mobile and like web apps. Like let's just get this money like this way. And I was like, okay, cool. So that exposed me to like work with like different clients and stuff like that. So that's what I was doing for a while. And then I was able to like, get my own clients off of Twitter as well, just from having the tech presence on Twitter and everything like that. So I was
Yeah.
doing that for a long time.
So, first of all, that's really cool that you like live well within your means and you were able to kind of plan.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, when they get their first job, they're like, "All right, I'm gonna go get a lease on a Mustang or
Yeah.
something." Like,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
oh, you planned it out and you had like this kind of emergency fund, and then you were able to leverage the social media presence that you built up
Hmm.
to find clients, and you were able to just do client work and make ends
Yeah.
meet. What was that
And
process like? That period of your life?
it was definitely interesting. Um, because I was traveling, I was giving conference talks. Like, so I spoke in, believe like Seattle, I spoke in San Francisco, I spoke in Germany, which was really cool. Chicago and stuff like that. So I was doing that, but then I was also like getting clients and everything. And I also found clients like not even through like online, but just from, I remember I was at Lenox Mall in like Atlanta. It's like this big mall. And I was coding on my computer. I was just like working on like a project or something like in the food court. And then like there was some like random person. I was like, hey, like, are you coding? And I was like, yes. And they were like, I have an app. And it was just everyone like, so I just ran into people and they were just like, I have an app and everything like that. Or like, I want an e-commerce store. And I really, really got good with like WooCommerce and Shopify. Because a lot of people like they had, they wanted to set up storefronts, and so and I learned that from YouTube,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. So they were like, "Hey, can you build this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Whatever I didn't know, I just like learned how to do. Like I just looked it up on like YouTube or something, or found documentation. Definitely a lot of documentation, um, to like build themes and like whatnot. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting period because like I knew that I didn't want to be in front end and web development forever. I knew I wanted to like get into security at some point. So it was definitely like just, I'm just trying to like make ends meet. I'm just trying to like do my thing. I'm trying to travel and everything. And yeah, and I think I was also writing like coding tutorials as well. Like I was trying to like stick to that as well. So
Yeah. So if I can make a few observations, first of all,
mm,
you just did whatever the client needed, and you weren't like, well, I'm not going to do WooCommerce or WordPress. Or like, you didn't get
yeah.
all up on your high horse. You're just like, sure, I'll
Yeah.
learn WooCommerce. I'll build this app. You didn't like think of yourself as an XYZ developer. You were just like, okay, I'm just a Swiss Army knife dev. I can do whatever, wherever the business leads me. And
Yeah.
yeah, it,
Yeah.
so it sounds like you're very pragmatic about making ends meet.
Yeah. At the time, yeah. I mean, and also I had exposure to WordPress from having my own blog on there. So when I had my portfolio site, when I was like looking for a job and like how my that CEO how he found me and everything, I had my portfolio site on there and it was built with like WordPress. So I already had that exposure. So it just made like sense to like with clients or like ask about, because it's just WordPress and Shopify and other like CMS like solutions are just like always like a really perfect like solution for small to like mid-sized like businesses and everything, like where they need something like fast and that's like easy to manage. And I was really good with like with teaching people how to use things. So not only was I like building the websites, I was also teaching them like um how to like update their content and everything like that, and how like WordPress works and everything. So and then when they did want to expand into like a WooCommerce or like add in like that shopping feature, then I was also able to help them. And I was just thinking of that. And I guess like having like my best friend who was like really like deep into business like that helped me as well with like being able to sell my services and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and
Yeah.
it also like made sense. Like I knew like React, I knew JavaScript and everything like that. So I wasn't afraid of like, digging into like the front end and customizing like code or anything like that. So it helped. And PHP isn't it's not that foreign of a language, compared to JavaScript, which is what I was working with at work and everything. It's not as big of a like a WTF as like Java is for me. Like
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
would not want
Yeah.
to code in Java. Like yeah, I definitely can hear you there. Like the jump from Java
Yeah.
to JavaScript is like the
Yeah.
jump from car to carpet.
Yeah. What
So
language do you work with the most then?
mostly Python and JavaScript.
Python.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And I just keep it simple. Like PHP. You mentioned PHP. Peter Levels.
Yeah.
He just does everything in PHP, and he like every single project he just uses PHP and you
Yeah.
know SQLite. I think. He
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah. And so like whatever the tools they get the job done, those are good tools to use. You'll talk to like these seasoned carpenters that are using basically the same tools that they've been using for like the last 20 years to get things
Hmm.
done, and there might be some newfangled tools and maybe they'll experiment with those, but like there's a high bar to clear for actually adopting a new tool and like moving to a completely new stack and all the new learning that is necessary with that.
Yeah.
So you would you say you've been relatively focused at least when you were front end dev like on JavaScript, Python, and then a little bit of PHP?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It was those languages for sure. I mean, I was always interested in like learning like other languages and everything, but as far as like what I was like on a day to day, like I was definitely focusing on those. Those are my like my bread and butter. And those are also
Yeah.
languages that like I recommend to people when they want to learn how to code, because they're still so popular today, JavaScript and Python.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Let's talk about your journey into security because I'm very interested. A lot of people listening to this may already be working as devs or they may not have figured out how they want to specialize.
hmm
And security is one of those things where they're always going to be like North Koreans trying to hack you,
yeah.
and you need to be ready, right?
hmm okay. So how I got into security. I started learning it through like Try Hack Me. That was actually like what got me like into it, and also TCM security because they had a lot of courses on YouTube for sure around that time. And I want to say I started learning like in 2022. 2022
Okay.
is when I joined like Try Hack Me and everything. And I this is the thing though, this is what I tell people is that like you don't just start off by like learning security. Like for the most part, if you're trying to get a technical role in security, you usually have to start off with learning like Linux. Like you have to like learn like operating systems and like networking. And I did not know those two things like in depth. I knew basic terminal commands and everything like that from being a developer, for having to like use like Git and everything, but I wasn't as confident with like with Linux in general. And so I definitely learned like a lot. I was reading books like Linux Basics for Hackers. There was like another like Linux system administration book that I was like also going through and like learning about how to like set up like a lamp stack, which for those who don't know, like that's like what's commonly used to like help push out like WordPress applications.
Yeah.
You're developing like servers that are built with PHP, MySQL database, um, Apache like web server, and Linux. So like
Yeah.
that's what makes up the lamp stack. And so I was definitely, yeah, I was like learning how to like build that from scratch because I was like, well, like I know, how to run a web, WordPress application. I didn't really know so much about setting it up like from scratch, because you know how you can use like I was using web when I was a developer and I was building out like the WordPress sites. The WordPress sites are already hosted up by like using like a one-click solution from like DigitalOcean, which is a cloud hosting provider. And so they provide
Yeah.
like an easy way for you to like deploy like a WordPress application without having to like know like all the that's going into it. But when I was learning like security, it is kind of like important to learn about how like those things like are built and everything. So I was on Try Hack Me. I was doing that, and then I learned about Active Directory, which I had not known what that was at all. Um, for those who don't know, that's what is helps you use to manage like Windows like environments and everything like that, and control like users and create policies and deploy those and everything like that. And so I learned how to build and set up like a domain controller, and in a virtual machine. Definitely learned a lot of virtualization, because everything that you're using whenever you're practicing like attacks or you're setting up anything, you're using it all like in virtual machines, which are isolated from like your actual host machine. um, and so I learned how to, set up like a whole domain controller, and like hooking up to like Windows like hosts and everything, and like learning how to like run attacks against them. Um, so it was just a lot about like learning how to build a thing and then how to break the thing. And it was like a constant cycle of that for sure. So yeah, I was using Try Hack Me, but I always tell people to like learn how to build this stuff like yourself, like in VMs. And like that's how you really get your hands dirty, and that's how you actually really start to like understand things. Don't just like do modules. That wasn't how I like retained the knowledge. I'm a very hands-on person. Um, so yeah, I was doing like a lot of that. I was doing courses, I was reading books, and I just became fascinated. Okay, Quincy, like I swear, like I was listening to this podcast called Darknet Diaries,
Oh,
which
excellent
you
podcast. Everybody who's interested in security, you should definitely listen to that. I love Darknet Diaries.
Yes. And it's a really, really good podcast, and it goes over like real stories of, different like hacking events and like incidents that have happened, or just even covering like just like interesting stories and paths of like people that are in security, like Jason Haddix and, people like that. So, shout out to Jason Haddix actually. It's really cool. Um, but yeah, so and that would keep me motivated, because I was just always like interested. I started to learn about people like Aaron Schwartz, who, if you don't know who that is, like he was like one of the co-founders of Reddit, and I'm actually a whole Reddit junkie, like because I definitely use a lot of Reddit to like kind of build up my roadmap, honestly, for security. So when I was curious about like what should I learn from being a developer to being in security, there's 10,000 other people that ask that same exact question. And so that's how I learned about resources like Try Hack Me and Portswigger, which is a great resource. It's free and it's online, and it's always like updated with like different labs to like learn different web vulnerabilities. And that's how I pivoted into security. That's how I kind of honed in on my focus. So yeah, I was building like Active Directory labs and stuff like that, and just like labs in general to like learn about different attacks. But like my specialty, I guess, was web application like security and everything, because I knew how to build it. So now I was like curious about like, well, like making applications behave like in ways that it wasn't intended to. It was really
Yeah.
interesting. So
And that's
yeah.
where the OWASP 10, like a lot of the different common attacks come from. Is
Yes.
there are a lot of websites out there, and a lot of them are running outdated versions of PHP and stuff,
Hmm.
and they don't have security engineers on their team because they're a tiny startup. And when you're a dev team of like 2 or 3 people, you don't necessarily have a dedicated security person. So
Yeah.
so if I can recap some of the advice you gave there,
Hmm.
so I love like learn how to build things, and like I'm a big advocate of learning how to build things. Go to freeCodeCamp.org, learn how to build software,
Yeah.
and then learn how to break that software open and do
Hmm.
things that the people who control those servers did not intend for you to
Hmm.
do. Because that's how you find out what. And again, North Korea is going to be like they hack everybody. Like it's a huge portion of their gross national product is like them
Hmm.
basically stealing people's bitcoins and stuff like that, right? So you have to think about like, okay, what are the most sophisticated state actors who have like these teams of like military people that have like spent all this time, like they're gonna attack your website. You need to be ready. And
Yeah.
that's what like a lot of security is essentially like having like a strong defense against those types of bad actors, right?
Hmm. And there are threat actors that target certain industries. So if you are, let's say, you're a developer that's working for a bank, and you're getting into security, and you're learning about like the different like tactics, the TCPs they call it, the tactics, techniques, and I forgot the other. Forgot what it all stood for. But basically, studying like the behaviors of attackers and everything. And so like there are APTs or which stands for Advanced Persistent Threat. There are different APT groups that specialize in attacking like the financial industry and everything like that. So let's say you're on the red team, or let's just say you're on a security team like at a bank or something like that, then you would be studying like those tactics and like learning about how to like defend against, you know, those potential like threat actors. So yeah,
Yeah.
in my case, like what I currently do, like at my job, like APTs aren't like a common threat for us. It's more about like the average like script kiddie who might be trying to like run like different like SQL injection like payloads or something like that. And so you have to like make sure that like all your input fields on your web applications have proper like validation and everything like that, encoding you know, defenses to protect against different injection attacks and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, like, and so that's the thing. Is like security is so vast, okay? And like there's like different areas of security. Like there's the incident response, there's compliance, there's this and that. But I do recommend for those who are web developers or software engineers that want to transition to security, you have a really, really good chance of getting into application security. And that's why I was honing in on the OWASP top 10 and like web vulnerabilities and stuff like that, because it already builds on what you already know. You already have like that solid foundation of web development. Now you have to learn about like different ways that like an attacker can try to exploit your application. And so your job would be to help secure that application from those attacks and everything. So I recommend that for sure for people.
Awesome. Yeah, and that is super actionable advice for any devs listening to this. What Taylor just said about basically leveraging the fact that you already have this expertise, because there are advanced persistent threats, right? There are these state threat actors like that are out there literally doing like military operations against people, right? And
Yeah.
like the Solar Winds attack or something like that, where they get into like tons of computers by exploiting some, you know, vulnerability and like something that has is deployed everywhere, right?
Hmm.
Like Windows machines, you know, all the ransomware attacks and stuff like that. But for every, you know, advanced persistent threat, I think is the acronym you use.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for every one of those, there are a lot of what are called script kiddies, which are just people that like don't necessarily know a lot about security. They're just using some tool,
Yeah.
like they're these tool packages that you know what is it called like it's called like exploit. I can't remember the name. It's like
Metasploit?
really yeah,
Yeah.
Metasploit. Yeah, like
Hmm.
they're entire security packages, and you could just sit there with your nacho cheese Dorito covered fingers and drink your
Yeah.
Gatorade, and you can go in and like screw up somebody's website pretty
Hmm.
badly with
Yeah.
like throwing like some of these tools at them. And so
Hmm.
one of the things that you do, it sounds like, is just batten down the hatches and cover like the most common types of attacks that are everywhere, and that pretty much anybody who didn't like want your website to be up could potentially call upon to bring you down.
Yes. Yeah. At my current position, well, yeah. Okay. Actually, I'll start into like my first job in security
Yeah,
because
let's
that
talk
was
about that.
yeah. So it was a struggle. So like, if you thought that like my whole journey in getting into like web development was like hard, like getting to security was like even like harder because security isn't. I do understand people say when they say security is not entry level because it does build on like you having like some type of like knowledge in something else. Um, like for instance, like okay, like web development, like you learn how to code, you get a job in tech. There you go. There's entry level jobs in software development or like in system administration or in networking or whatever. Security kind of like builds on some type of knowledge of either one of those domains that I just like named off for the most part. Um, and so like a big barrier for me was lack of experience. So even though I had like the years of experience in software development, um, it's- it was like recruiters would be like, yeah, like that's cool, but like you don't have like actual cybersecurity experience, and so like that was really hard, and it's very hard to get cybersecurity experience without being in a cybersecurity role. Now there are, I do say like now with the knowledge that I do have of like the industry. Like a way to get experience is like through bug bounty hunting, which if you don't know what that is, like that's basically where people can find like vulnerabilities and flaws on applications such as Facebook and Twitter. Um, or like other like public facing like assets or sites, and they report like bugs and everything, and they can receive a like a reward, like a monetary like money like for it,
Yeah,
which is
bounty.
pretty cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
like
just like
even
a
like
bounty hunter
OpenAI.
like brings in the pirate hunter Zoro and gets their, you know.
Yeah. And it can
Yeah.
pay, like depending on the severity of the bug. Like I think like at OpenAI, they're offering but like bounties up to like over 100,000 for like a critical flaw. So I'm just like, wow, like really, really good money, life-changing money. But yeah, so it was really hard to find a job in security and everything like that. Of course, there were entry level like penetration tester, which is definitely the role. That's what I wanted to be, is a pen tester, which that means that's someone who is able to like ethically, like legally hack like web application systems, networks, whatever that is put in front of them, being able to like break it and find flaws in it. Um, and yeah, like there were junior pen tester roles, but it's very it's very uh competitive for sure, because there's people that have like computer science degrees, not only computer science degree, they've been coding since they were 10, and they also have found like CVEs and so many bug bounties, and they have like a really, really
What
flawless
are
like resume.
CVEs?
So a CVE, that stands for common vulnerabilities and exposures, and that is a publicly disclosed vulnerability. So yeah, that's what a CVE is. And so like
So something people already know about, basically, but it's like people just haven't fixed it.
it's actually not of it's not to the knowledge of like the organization or like the application or whoever is like in charge of like the software that you found the vulnerability, and like they don't know about it until you reported it, and then like they can choose to like disclose that vulnerability, and so it gets assigned a CVE ID, so that now it becomes public knowledge and is kept in a public database, I believe the NVD, which is National Vulnerability Database.
Okay,
And
so
so
basically, like, let's say, like, hypothetically, you run like some sort of web server, and somebody
mhm.
figures out some exploit there, or like they find a vulnerability, and so everybody who is using that web server should know, and it should be patched, and the update should be rolled out. But now everybody knows
Yeah.
that like this exists out there, and you need to update your software.
Well, yes, yes. And so like when you do report it, they do go through the process of like remediating that, and then like they will or however they do choose to like treat that vulnerability. And then like yeah, so then it becomes like part of like public knowledge. Like okay, like you need to like update or patch up your Apache systems, for instance. Like it, let's say you do find a vulnerability like a directory traversal or whatever kind of vulnerability, like in Apache like web server version 1 point whatever. Now you can report that vulnerability, and then if it gets publicly disclosed and everything, then it's like okay, boom, like it's documented publicly for like everyone to know, like
Yeah.
hey, patch system, because like there was a certain vulnerability, and it will be that CVE ID that I say that that you get assigned when you do find like that CVE, or when when it does get accepted as a CVE, that will forever be like tied to like that CVE ID. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks. And I didn't know what that was, and now I do. And
Yeah.
hopefully, some of the people listening
Yeah.
didn't know what that is either. I'm
And
gonna
that's
enter.
used in a lot of the tools, like a lot of the security scanners, like if you've heard of like SAST or DAS, like
Mhm.
which are basically tools that you can scan against like code or like web applications. Is mainly like especially like in SAST tools, or SCA, which is used to scan against like open source libraries, for instance, and dependencies that we use right as developers. Um, like yeah, that's what's used. Like so basically like how like those security tools work is that it scans like your code against like a whole database of like CVEs, and so that's
Known
how
issues.
yeah. Yeah, so
Okay,
that's how that works.
awesome. And so that's good to know that like this is publicly disclosed, and then it's actually
Hmm.
used to help people identify. Oh, you've got these
Yeah,
known issues in your code, but
yeah,
you need to go fix these real quick.
yep.
Um, and a public service announcement for everybody: like, don't turn off auto updates on your computer. I know it's annoying to have to update your software, to update your phone, but you should always keep everything on the latest version for precisely this reason. They're constantly
Hmm.
little vulnerabilities being discovered that are getting patched, and you don't want to be like running some old like you should literally abandon software that is no longer supported. Like FreeCodeCamp, we migrated from using Ghost. We were on like this old version, and when they announced they were not going to support it anymore, we had to migrate. We're not going to try to like we're not going to leave ourselves wide open. So that is a compelling reason to just keep like security is a real important consideration in what software you use and whether there are people actively maintaining it, and whether you have a reasonable expectation that these CVEs are being patched, right? I'm not sure if I'm using the term CVEs, like if that's the correct way to say it, but Well, basically, yeah. So I have like so many questions. We've only got a few minutes left, and I just don't want to start firing them off at you. First of all, you live in Bangkok, Thailand. That is
Yes.
awesome, and I'm excited to learn a little bit about how you got out there and your decision making process.
Okay, sure. So, I at the time, when I first visited Thailand, it was August of last year of 2024. And I spent 2 months like backpacking Southeast Asia because that was like a bucket list goal that I've had, Quincy, since I was like maybe 12 or something. Um, and so I spent 2 months like traveling like Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Bangkok was like what spoke to me like the most. Like that was the first city that I visited out here in Asia, and I was like, yeah, like I was like I could live here. It was like a passing thought when I was on the back of like a motorbike because that's how we kind of get around into like motorbikes out here. And so, and I was like, yeah, I could live here. Like, I just really, it felt very comfortable for me. And so, I knew that that's where I wanted to like live. And when I got offered this most recent position that I'm in, that was in October. And at the time when I interviewed for that job, I was in Vietnam. And so like I had actually told him that in an interview because he was like, "Oh, he's like, oh, it's dark out there." And I was like, "Yeah, it's like 11 p.m. here. I'm in Vietnam." And he was like, "Oh." He's like, "Okay." So, and the role was like remote and everything. And after I got the job, like I started researching about relocating. Like I did, ask my boss, like I was like, how do you feel about people like relocating, like to to like a different like country or something like that, or like working remotely from another country. I didn't know how long I wanted to be in Bangkok, but I just knew I wanted to be there for an extended period of time. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. He's like, I live on a boat. And I was like, wait, what? And like he actually like my boss is a CISO, a chief information security officer, and he literally like lives on a boat, like sailing the Caribbean. Um, and so like I think he was just like more like open-minded to people just because of like his own situation and everything like that. So I was like, okay, as long as I can handle the time zone difference, that was the thing. So like I saved up money. I basically like stacked up for like 3 months and I researched visas, the different visa options out here. And so I just recently got the digital nomad visa or the DTV, which basically allows me to like live in Thailand for up to 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, and like work remotely in Thailand, so I can legally like work remotely out here. Just can't work for a Thai employer. I can work for an overseas employer though, which it literally works out for me. So, yeah, I just got approved for that. And yeah, that's how I'm living out here and everything. I got my apartment when I was still in Florida. I found the apartment on Facebook. In one of like the Facebook groups and everything like that. And I got a virtual tour and everything. But and my leasing agent really just he helped me find this spot. And so yeah, I moved out here January 11th of this year. So I've been out here for
Awesome.
3 months. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I want to dig a little deeper. Like, first of all, everybody should check out Taylor's YouTube channel where she's doing short kind of video essays, tutorial types about her move out there and like immigration considerations,
Hmm.
lifestyle, like safety, all those things. But what inspired you to like live abroad? I mean, you could just be comfortable back here in the States
Hmm.
probably, and yet you're seeking out like these completely different cultures, dramatically different time
Yeah.
zones.
Yeah. That's a great question. I've always been interested in wanting to immerse myself in other cultures. I've always wanted to. I tried like I think maybe since I was like 5 or 6, like I was given by a family friend a book, a World Encyclopedia book, and I remember I read that till the pages fell off, like from start to finish, like as a kid. And I learned about different countries, and I was just like always so fascinated. Then as I got older, I would get on YouTube and I would see like these like travel vloggers like make these like videos like trying different food markets like out in Bangkok and everything, and or people like learning different languages like Chinese or uh, French or whatever, and being able to speak to like the natives in that like that language, and just seeing like how like they just built like those connections, like because like this person's from a whole different culture, this other person from a whole different culture. They may not be able to have like a whole full on like in-depth conversation in that language, but just the effort that she made to try to like learn their language, like it meant a lot for them. And I like that. honestly. And also the people in Thailand are just so sweet. Like the Buddhism, like I always say this, like the Buddhism like really permeates like throughout the culture, and it's how, and how like they treat you and everything, how respectful they are, and the kind, just the kindness and the politeness like all throughout the atmosphere here. So I was just always really drawn to that. And I was just like, yeah, and I'm also someone that I could probably spin a globe and be like, okay, I'll live here. Like, I'll see what it's like for like a month or something. I'm always like, within reason. I'm just always been like very like open-minded to that for sure.
Yeah.
So it didn't
Well,
even scare me. I was just like, let's just go do it.
yeah. If somebody wanted to plan to move overseas like you did, what would be
Hmm.
like kind of like a checklist, like in terms of
Oh
like
yeah.
how much should they save up? Like how far in
Hmm.
advance should they start planning for such a move? Assuming, like, let's presume they're in a situation like you where they don't have kids, and they
Okay.
don't necessarily have like aging relatives they're taking care of or anything like that.
Right. Um, I would definitely. So what I did, I saved up. Well, first off, I calculated like what I thought my average cost of living would be on a monthly basis, and I used how I determined that was I looked at like my spending habits, so, like what would I spend more on, what would I spend like less on, and then I also like looked into like how much like the average like studio or like one bedroom costs like out here in Thailand, for instance, or like specifically Bangkok. So I kept that in mind, and then I also did a lot of research. I watched a lot of YouTube videos of people who also share like their cost of living. That's why I also shared mine still on my YouTube channel. Like that whole transparency. Like I learned a lot from that, and so I did that times that by 12, and because like the cost of living out here is not that expensive compared to the States. So like my cost of living like right now is gonna be like 1,200, like $1,300 in total per month, and that's including my rent. And so I just times that by 12, and I made sure I had like a good savings account that equated to that before I moved out here. But usually people say like, save up at least 6 months. If you save at least 6 months, you're so far ahead of like other digital nomads, because I've met people out here that moved out here with like nothing. And I'm just like, no job, no savings. What are you doing? Like, I would definitely do not move with your next check. Definitely save up like at least a few months, because you want to have like your like that, whole thing going. And then also research the visas. That's the next thing to do. Once you get the savings set up, research the visa options. Like out here, definitely consider the digital nomad visa. You don't even have to be a remote worker to even qualify for it. You could, if you want to sign up for cooking classes, like out here in Thailand, they will sponsor that. Muay Thai lessons and everything, they'll provide. That's another way
Which
to get
has
the
the
VTV.
Thai boxing.
Yeah, the type, which is so cool, so fun to watch out here. But yeah, and so just like look up the visa options and look at what's right for you. I wanted to even Japan has a similar like digital nomad visa. I think it's a little bit different because you can't extend that visa like or the periods that you can stay like as opposed to like in Thailand. But like there's some differences. But yeah. Um, so like look up the visa situation, everything like that, and then also look up the try to like learn about like the cultures and the customs and like how like just like how people like behave out here and everything like that. So then you can be respectful of other cultures and everything. Um, yeah. And then you just go from there, honestly. Definitely like just look up like other like YouTubers that have like done like the whole move and transition and everything. But try to sift through the people who are just trying to like sell you something or like that try to like BS their way through.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. You seem like the type of person who kind of makes up their mind, like, I'm going to do this, and then you figure out a way to do it. If you had a goal in mind, let's say you had a new goal, like, let's say hypothetically your goal is to, what is the goal? Do you have any goals right now?
I'm actually in the process of trying to get my OSCP. So
Okay,
that's
what does that
Social
stand for?
Pensions.
That's another
Yeah,
big
yeah, I
acronym.
got you. I got you.
OACP.
Yeah,
Uh,
OSCP, a pension security certified professional. So that is a hands-on exam where you basically have to like break into like six different machines, including like an Active Directory like network, and then like three standalone like machines, which could either be like Linux or Windows machines,
yeah.
and being able to like root those systems, which means like being able to escalate your privileges from like a regular like standard user to being able to be like administrative on that machine, because that basically when you become administrative like user like on a machine, that means that you've like pwned the machine. That means you've got it, you compromise it fully. But yeah, so what I do for that is how like I set like that goal is like I try to set aside time every day to it, at least like an hour or two a day, to that whole thing. And then I also like write my goals a lot in a journal, which I don't even realize that I'm doing. But like I do write every day, and I guess like people call that like manifesting, but I don't like I'm just like this is just what I do. I didn't even think of it like that, but I guess so. Um, so yeah, I keep myself in that mindset. I also subscribe to like also like kind of surround myself with like everything like around that. So I will subscribe to like different like Reddit feeds, or I'll read different like blog posts or anything that are like about that, just to keep me like engaged in it. So yeah, that's how I do. I immerse myself in it. That's how I kind of like get into a goal and I execute it. Just like, and that's the same kind of approach I guess I did with moving out here to Thailand. I immersed myself in it and made sure I redid like all my research about it, and then I executed as I went. Um, the thing is, like, there's such thing as being too overly prepared. At some point, you're gonna have to like try and be afraid and not be afraid to like make a mistake, because it'll happen, or not be afraid of failing while trying to execute that goal. Because I've definitely failed at times. Like for instance, I failed the OSCP the first time, so like I'm on round two. So that's that's just my whole process. That's my whole learning process for sure.
Yeah. So to recap, plan, immerse yourself. You know,
Hmm.
listening to the podcast, reading Reddit threads, just kind of like trying to grab all the different meta knowledge, the tacit knowledge that is like other people are carrying around with them. Just trying to absorb that, and then
Hmm.
not over preparing, but going for it at some point. And if you fail, just try again.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because I do think a lot of people get paralyzed in the preparation phase.
Yeah.
You are extremely modest and humble, but like the things you've accomplished are dramatic. Like I think it's incredibly impressive. You're quite young, and just to make such a dramatic series of career pivots, to go from like working at Walmart and Boston Market to working as a software engineer to getting laid off and figuring out how to like scrap for freelance work essentially, and
Yeah.
then just deciding, hey, I want to further augment my skills and I want to move in the security direction, and now pursuing this big formal certification. Like you're very modest, but like how do you strike a balance between being joking and self-deprecating and
Yeah.
getting people to take you seriously?
Mm, that is, wow. That's a really powerful question, actually. That's definitely something I battle with like internally, because there's definitely exposing yourself to and by being vulnerable, especially like in public, kind of opens you up to criticism and people questioning your intelligence and your place in the industry. And so I was back and forth for a long time about like being so open about it, but I realized that it's it's really about how you feel about yourself. That's like the most important thing. And I hope that doesn't sound too cliche. Because, and it's taken a long time for me to actually feel like as if I am capable. Cause like I definitely, like that self-deprecation was rooted in me actually believing that, that I was not, smart enough or anything like that or whatever. But like I had to really, really work on, uh, removing like the negative self-talk and everything, and having to remind myself that I am capable. And I try to just keep like my head down and just try to like stay focused. I don't even try to like think about all the successes or accomplishments, like for instance, um I'm always thinking about like the next thing and like what I want to achieve and everything like that, and that's what kind of like keeps me going. But it does help that when you do get to like motivate like other people just from like existing and being yourself and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a fine balance. I don't know. I just have a sense of humor.
Well, that's so cool. Like just staying focused. Don't think about the accomplishments. Don't think about the criticism.
Hmm.
One of the things that you said there that really uh, resonated with me is like a lot of times people are self-deprecating it, and they joke about like their shortcomings because the fact is they are a little bit insecure about
Hmm.
that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard to not feel insecure when you are surrounded by people who've been coding for a long time and have CS degrees and all this stuff, and here
Yeah.
you are just trying to like learn and catch up with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that resonates with me, and I think that's probably going to resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Taylor, you're such a big inspiration to me, and I know to the the developer community at large. I really appreciate you taking this time out to talk with us. It's like super late over there in
Yeah.
Thailand. I don't want to
Yeah.
keep you up too late. I just want to thank you again for everything you're doing.
Thank you. No, literally, thank you for the platform that you created. I literally push your YouTube channel. It's like it's a gold mine of a resource. I still use it to this day because all just like all the different like topics that you cover like on the channel, all the different people that you like bring on and everything to like teach, and just the fact that you've made it free and accessible for like everyone. Like I think you don't realize how much you've actually made an impact on people like me, because I don't think I would actually even be in tech today because I couldn't afford to like go back to school or to go do a boot camp or anything. And just the fact that you've made quality resources, like it's meant a lot to people like me that are self-taught, so thank you. That's why when you reached out to me, I was like, oh my God. It was full circle, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You absolutely made my day. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah.
And again, seriously, everybody listening to this, check out Taylor's YouTube channel if you want to live abroad in Thailand. She's got lots of detailed advice, super actionable, and tons of luck with the second try at the OSCP.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you,
yeah,
Quincy.
good luck balancing like sleep and work and study for that while
Yeah.
you're living in this new culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just keep going out there and getting things done and inspiring us all.
Thank you.
And everybody, till next week, happy coding.